Ambassador Velkorath stood at the observation window of his ship and looked at the small blue planet below. He had done this many times before. In his long career, he had welcomed 17 new species into the Galactic Concord. Each time, the process was the same. Find a young civilization, teach them, guide them, help them join the great family of stars. The Selenari people, his people, had been doing this work for 6 million years. They were patient, they were wise. They knew exactly what to expect from a species that had just discovered nuclear power. Ambassador, said his science officer Thalmex, we are receiving strange readings from the planet's orbit. Velkorath turned his tall, slender body toward the younger officer. His gray skin caught the light of distant stars. What kind of readings? I am not certain. There appear to be structures, large ones, in orbit around the planet. Velkorath felt the first small touch of confusion. This was not normal. Species at this stage of development did not build things in space. They were still learning to leave their own atmosphere. The Concord's deep scan probes had detected this world only 50 years ago. At that time, the inhabitants were fighting a global war with primitive flying machines and chemical explosives. 50 years was nothing. A blink of an eye. No species could change much in 50 years. Show me, Velkorath said. The main screen flickered to life. What Velkorath saw made him stop breathing for a moment. Massive platforms floated in orbit around the blue world. They were covered with weapons systems and sensor arrays, defense stations, military installations, and beyond them, he could see ships, hundreds of ships. They were crude compared to Concord vessels, but they were real. They were functional. They should not exist. This is impossible, Thalmex whispered. The probe data said they had just achieved nuclear fission. They should still be burning fossil fuels. They should still be bound to their planet. Velkorath's mind raced. In all his years, in all the records of the Concord stretching back 12 million years, he had never seen anything like this. Species did not advance this quickly. The laws of social and technological development were well understood. Progress happened slowly, carefully, over millions of years. What is their current population? Velkorath asked. Thalmex checked his instruments. 12 billion on the planet. Another 2 billion in orbital stations and colonies on their moon. Their moon. They had colonized their moon. Velkorath felt something he had not felt in a very long time. He felt afraid. We will proceed with first contact, he said, keeping his voice steady. Whatever they are, they deserve to know they are not alone in the universe. The Concord ship descended through the atmosphere. They had sent signals ahead, mathematical patterns that any thinking species could understand. The response had come quickly, too quickly. The inhabitants called themselves humans. They called their world Earth, and they invited the Concord delegation to land at a place called Geneva. When Velkorath stepped off his ship, he was greeted by a crowd of beings. They were smaller than Selenari, with soft skin and various shades of brown and pink. They had hair on their heads and 2 eyes that seemed to hold an intensity he had rarely seen. They smiled at him with their strange flat teeth, and he realized they were trying to appear friendly. A female human stepped forward. She wore a uniform of dark blue and carried herself with the confidence of a leader. Welcome to Earth, she said. I am Secretary General Chen Wei. We have been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Velkorath studied her carefully. You were waiting for us? We knew we could not be alone. The universe is too large, too full of possibility. She smiled again. We are honored to be your hosts. The next several days were filled with ceremonies and meetings. Velkorath met human leaders from around their world. He saw their cities, their technology, their art. Everything he saw added to his confusion. These beings had fusion power. They had artificial intelligence. They had begun experimenting with faster-than-light communication. This was not a young species taking its first steps into space. This was a civilization racing toward the stars at impossible speed. On the 5th day, Velkorath requested access to humanity's historical and scientific archives. This was standard practice. Every new species was assessed before being invited to join the Concord. The humans agreed immediately. They seemed almost eager to share their story. Thalmex was given the task of reviewing the data. Velkorath returned to the ship to prepare his preliminary report for the Concord High Council. He felt optimistic. The humans were strange. Yes, they were faster than expected, but they seemed peaceful. They seemed curious. Perhaps they would make excellent additions to the galactic community. He was in his quarters when Thalmex contacted him. The science officer's voice was wrong. It was too quiet, too controlled. "Ambassador, I need you in the research bay." Immediately, Velkorath found Thalmex standing before a holographic display. The younger Selenari did not turn when the ambassador entered. His eyes were fixed on the data streams flowing across the screen. His hands were trembling. "What have you found?" Velkorath asked. Thalmex took a long breath. "Ambassador, how long do you believe this species has existed?" Velkorath considered the question. Based on their technology, their social structures, their accumulated knowledge, he would estimate at least 3 million years. Perhaps 4. That would still make them remarkably fast developers, but it would at least be within the realm of possibility. 3 million years, he said. Perhaps more. Thalmex finally turned to look at him. The science officer's face was pale. His eyes were wide with something that looked like terror. 300,000 years, Thalmex said. "Ambassador, this species is 300,000 years old. From stone tools to starships in 300,000 years. It took us 6 million years to achieve what they have done in a fraction of that time." Velkorath felt the floor shift beneath him. He reached for the wall to steady himself. That was not possible. It could not be possible. No species in the history of the galaxy had ever advanced so quickly. The very idea went against everything the Concord understood about the development of intelligent life. "There is more," Thalmex said. His voice was barely a whisper now. "I reviewed their history. Ambassador, they almost destroyed themselves. Many times. Wars, plagues. They came close to extinction, again and again. Any one of these events would have ended most species, would have ended us, but they survived." Velkorath said slowly, "No, Ambassador, they did not simply survive." Thalmex turned back to the screen. "Every time they fell, they rose again stronger than before. Every disaster made them faster, smarter, more determined. They treat extinction events as challenges to overcome." Velkorath stared at the data. At the impossible numbers. At the story of a species that had clawed its way from nothing to nearly matching the Concord in the span of a cosmic heartbeat. For the first time in his very long life, Ambassador Velkorath of the Selenari people understood what it meant to stand before something truly terrifying, and he knew he had to warn the Concord before it was too late. The Concord envoy vessel Harmonious Understanding hung silently in orbit above Earth. Inside its research bay, Ambassador Velkorath and Science Officer Thalmex had been studying human history for 3 days straight. Neither of them had slept. Neither of them could. The data on the screens told a story that should not be possible, and yet, it was true. Every record confirmed it. Every calculation proved it. Humanity was something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. "Show me again," Velkorath said. The timeline. Thalmex brought up a holographic display. A line of light stretched across the room, marking the major events in human history. "Here," Thalmex said, pointing to the beginning. 300,000 years ago, the first modern humans appear. They are hunters. They use simple stone tools. They live in small tribes. He moved his hand along the line. For most of their existence, they remain at this level. Slow progress, normal development. But then, about 12,000 years ago, something changes. They begin farming. They build villages. They create writing. And from that moment, they never stop accelerating. Velkorath watched the timeline move faster and faster. Cities rose. Empires formed and fell. Technologies emerged one after another: steam power, electricity, flight, nuclear energy, space travel, digital networks, artificial intelligence. Each advancement came quicker than the last. The Concord standard for technological development is approximately 0.2% per century, Thalmex said. Humans are developing at 4.7% per century, and the rate is increasing. Velkorath felt cold despite the warm air of the ship. What does that mean for their future? Thalmex hesitated, then he brought up another projection. If they maintain their current rate of advancement, they will match the technological level of the elder species within 400 years. Within 1,000 years, they will surpass anything the Concord has ever achieved. 1,000 years. Velkorath repeated softly. We have existed for 12 million years. They would surpass us in 1,000 years. Yes, Ambassador. Velkorath turned away from the display. He walked to the observation window and looked down at the blue planet below. Somewhere on that small world, billions of humans were living their short lives, working, building, dreaming. They had no idea what they were. They did not understand how unusual they were. To them, their progress was simply normal. There is something else you need to see, Thelmex said. Their history of conflict. Another display appeared. This one was filled with red marks. Wars. Thousands of them. Velkorath had seen violence before. Young species often fought among themselves. It was a normal part of development. But this was different. This was constant, endless. Humans had been fighting each other from the very beginning of their existence. 2 global wars in the past 200 years alone, Thelmex said. The second one killed 80 million of them. They developed nuclear weapons during that conflict. Weapons capable of destroying their entire civilization. And they used them? Twice. On their own cities. To end the war faster, Velkorath closed his eyes. He tried to imagine a species willing to destroy itself to achieve victory. He could not. The Silenari had not known war in millions of years. Violence was something they had evolved beyond long ago. But humans lived with violence every day. It was woven into the fabric of their existence. But here is what I cannot understand, Thelmex continued. Every time they destroy themselves, they rebuild. Every war makes them stronger. Look at this data. After their great wars, their technological advancement actually speeds up. It is as if conflict itself drives them forward. Velkorath opened his eyes and stared at the data. It was true. The pattern was unmistakable. Disaster, recovery, advancement, disaster, recovery, greater advancement, over and over again, throughout their entire history. We have a standardized species threat assessment algorithm, Thelmex said. I ran humanity through it, and the algorithm crashed. Ambassador, it was not designed to process a species like this. The parameters are outside any predicted range. I had to modify the program just to get a result. What was the result? Thelmex's voice dropped to a whisper. Existential concern, the highest possible classification. Velkorath stood in silence for a long moment. He had lived for over 2,000 years. He had seen wonders beyond counting. He had helped guide young species toward peace and prosperity, but he had never faced anything like this. I must contact the High Council, he said finally. They need to know what we have found. He moved to the communication array and prepared a classified message. As he worked, he thought about the humans he had met. Secretary General Chen Wei, with her confident smile, the scientists who had proudly shown him their research facilities, the children who had waved at him in the streets. They had seemed so normal, so friendly, so harmless. But they were not harmless. They could not be. A species that advanced this quickly, that turned every disaster into fuel for growth, that wielded violence as naturally as breathing. Such a species could not remain contained on one small world forever. Transmission ready, the computer announced. Velkorath recorded his message. He spoke clearly and calmly, though his hearts were racing. He described everything they had found, the impossible timeline, the endless conflicts, the accelerating advancement. He did not exaggerate. He did not need to. The raw data was terrifying enough on its own. At the end of his message, he made his recommendation. I believe the Sol system should be placed under immediate quarantine. Humanity must be contained until the Council can determine an appropriate response. They are not hostile at this time, but their potential for growth is unlike anything in conquered history. If we wait too long, we may not have the power to stop them. He ended the transmission and sent it through the quantum relay. The message would reach the High Council within hours. After that, the decision would be out of his hands. Down on Earth, humanity's United Nations Space Command had been monitoring the conquered ship since its arrival. Admiral James Chen sat in a command center surrounded by screens and officers. He had noticed something troubling over the past few days. The aliens had stopped responding to communications. Their diplomatic team had returned to their ship 3 days ago and had not come back. What are they doing up there? Admiral Chen asked. Unknown, sir, his communications officer replied. They are receiving our messages, but they are not responding. We have detected several encrypted transmissions leaving their ship, long-range signals. They appear to be contacting their home government. Admiral Chen leaned back in his chair. He had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. First contact, the greatest event in human history. And now, something was wrong. He could feel it. "They are afraid of us," he said quietly. The officers around him exchanged confused looks. "Sir, think about it. They came expecting to find primitives. They found a civilization that nearly matches their own. Now they have gone silent. They are probably trying to figure out what to do about us." Admiral Chen stood up and walked to the window. He looked up at the night sky, where the alien ship was hidden among the stars. "The question is," he said, "what will they decide?" Above him, in the cold silence of space, Ambassador Velkorath was asking himself the same question, and he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. The Concord High Council chamber was the largest enclosed space ever built by intelligent beings. Its crystal dome rose 3 kilometers into the sky of Athoria Prime. Floating platforms held representatives from 4,000 species. Light from a dozen different suns filtered through the transparent walls, creating patterns of color that shifted like living paintings. Today, the chamber was silent. Every seat was filled. Every eye was fixed on the central platform where the 12 elder species sat in judgment. They were the founders of the Concord, the oldest and wisest beings in the known galaxy. They had maintained peace among the stars for 12 million years, and they were terrified. High Arbiter Kelzareth, eldest of the elders, raised one of her 6 arms for attention. Her crystalline body caught the light and scattered it in rainbow patterns across the chamber. She was 9 million years old. She had seen the birth and death of stars. She had watched countless species rise and fall, but she had never seen anything like the data now displayed on the central screen. "The council will come to order," she said. Her voice was soft but carried to every corner of the vast space. "We are here to discuss the human question." A murmur ran through the assembly. For 6 months, rumors had been spreading. A new species, an impossible species, a species that might threaten the very foundations of galactic civilization. "First we will hear from Ambassador Velkorath," Kelzareth said. "He has spent time among the humans. He has studied their history. He will present his findings." Velkorath floated to the central platform. He looked out at the thousands of representatives watching him. He saw fear in their eyes, fear that he understood completely. "Honored Council," he began. "I came to Earth expecting to meet a young species taking its first steps into space. What I found was something else entirely. The humans have achieved in 300,000 years what most species require 5 million years to accomplish. They are not young. They are fast. Faster than anything we have ever encountered." He activated the display. Charts and graphs appeared, showing humanity's rate of advancement. The numbers were impossible, but they were accurate. At their current rate of progress, humans will match our most advanced technology within 4 centuries. Within 1,000 years, they will surpass us. In 10,000 years, they will be so far beyond us that we cannot even imagine what they will become. A loud voice interrupted him. It was Lord Kethvarn, representative of the Manthari, one of the oldest warrior species in the Concord. "Then we must destroy them now," he said, "before they become a threat, before they can harm us." Several representatives voiced agreement, but others called for caution. "We do not destroy intelligent species," said a gentle voice. It was Speaker Lumineth of the Etherian Collective. "We guide them. We teach them. That is the Concord way." "The Concord way was not designed for a species like this," Kethvarn replied. "Look at their history. They are violent. They wage constant war against each other. What will happen when they turn that violence outward? Against us?" High Arbiter Kelzareth raised her arm again. The arguing stopped. "We will consider all options," she said. "Present them formally. For the record." Lord Kethvarn spoke first. "The preservationist position is clear. Humanity is an existential threat. Their rate of advancement makes them dangerous beyond measure. I have consulted our military leaders. They believe we can still destroy them if we act now. But if we wait even a century, it may already be too late." The chamber was silent as his words sank in. Destruction. Genocide. The Conquered had not considered such action in over 5 million years. Speaker Lumineth spoke next. "The integrationist position offers another path. We should welcome humanity into the Concord immediately. Give them full membership, full access to our technology and knowledge. Make them partners, not enemies. If they are part of our civilization, they will have no reason to threaten us. And if they take our technology and use it to conquer us? Kethvarn demanded. That is a risk, Lumineth admitted. But the alternative is mass murder. Is that who we want to be? A third voice joined the debate. It was Elder Tamzar, of the Quiet Ones, a species known for their cautious wisdom. The isolationist position offers a middle path. We do not destroy humanity. We do not embrace them. We simply contain them, build a barrier around their star system, block their expansion. Let them develop in isolation until we can better understand what they are. And if they break through the barrier? Someone asked. Tamzar was silent for a moment. Then we will face that problem when it arises. The debate continued for hours. Representatives argued. Factions formed and dissolved. Data was analyzed again and again, but no consensus emerged. The problem was too large, too frightening, too unprecedented. Finally, High Arbiter Kelzareth called for silence. I have listened to all arguments, she said. Each has merit. Each has risk. But I am troubled by something none of you have mentioned. The chamber fell silent. We speak of destroying humanity or containing them. But has anyone asked whether we could actually succeed? She looked out at the assembly. Our military has not fought a true war in 3 million years. Our weapons are ceremonial. Our soldiers have become philosophers. We have forgotten what conflict means. Lord Kethvarn shifted uncomfortably. Our fleets are still powerful. Our technology is still superior. Is it? Kelzareth asked. Ambassador Velkoreth, you spent time with humans. Tell us about their military capabilities. Velkoreth hesitated. They have orbital defense platforms, warships, weapons that can destroy cities in seconds. They have been developing these technologies continuously for centuries. More importantly, they know how to use them. War is not theory to them. It is practice. The chamber was very quiet now. Kelzareth continued. We have lived in peace so long that we have forgotten the cost of war. But humans have not forgotten. They train for it. They prepare for it. They are ready for it. She paused. Are we? No one answered. Before I make any decision, Kelzareth said, I want to meet a human myself. Not to negotiate. Not to judge. Simply to understand. We are making choices about the fate of an entire species. The least I can do is look them in the eye first. She turned to her advisors. Send a message to Earth. Request a single representative. Someone who can speak for their species. Someone who is not afraid to face the Council of Elders alone. The message was sent. 3 days later, a response came from Earth. Her name was Captain Elena Vasquez. She was a soldier, a pilot, a leader of men, and she was not afraid of anything. She would come alone. In the great chamber of Ethoria Prime, 4,000 species waited to meet the being who might represent the end of everything they had built. Some hoped for peace, some prepared for war, some simply prayed to whatever gods they believed in. And on a small ship crossing the vast distances between stars, Captain Elena Vasquez reviewed everything humanity knew about the Galactic Concord. She understood what was at stake. The future of her entire species might depend on what she said and did in the next few days. She looked out the window at the stars rushing past. Somewhere out there was a civilization millions of years old. A civilization that was afraid of her people. Afraid of what humanity might become. Captain Vasquez smiled. They had every right to be afraid. Captain Elena Vasquez had seen many incredible things in her 43 years of life. She had walked on the surface of Mars. She had flown through the rings of Saturn. She had commanded the first human ship to travel faster than light. But nothing had prepared her for Ethoria Prime. The capital world of the Galactic Concord was beautiful beyond description. Crystal towers rose into a purple sky. Rivers of liquid light flowed through streets made of living stone. Creatures of every shape and size moved through the city, each one representing a species with millions of years of history, and they were all watching her. Elena walked through the streets alone. This had been her choice. The council had offered guards, escorts, translators. She had refused them all. If humanity was going to face the galaxy, it would do so on its own terms, not hiding behind protection, not showing weakness. The people she passed stopped and stared. Some whispered to each other. Some pointed with limbs or tentacles or organs she could not identify. She heard fragments of conversation from her translation device. So small, only 2 arms. They live less than 100 years. This is what we are afraid of? Elena kept walking. She had been briefed on everything humanity knew about the situation. The council was debating whether to destroy her species. Some wanted war. Some wanted peace. Some wanted to lock humanity away forever. Her job was simple. Convince them that humanity deserved to live. No pressure. She was escorted into a private chamber deep within the council building. It was smaller than she expected. The walls were covered with strange art from 1,000 different worlds. The floor was soft beneath her feet, like walking on clouds. And at the center of the room sat High Arbiter Kelzareth. Elena had seen pictures. She knew what to expect. But seeing the Elder in person was something else entirely. Kelzareth's body was made of living crystal, constantly shifting between colors. 6 arms moved in gentle patterns as she spoke. Her eyes were deep pools of blue light that seemed to see everything at once. She was 9 million years old, and she was looking at Elena like a scientist examining a fascinating new specimen. Please, Kelzareth said. Sit. Elena sat on a cushion across from the Elder. She kept her back straight, her eyes forward. She would not show fear. You came alone, Kelzareth observed. That surprised many in the council. They expected humanity to send a team, advisors, experts, guards. We do not need them, Elena said simply. Kelzareth made a sound that might have been a laugh. Such confidence. Your species is facing possible extinction, and you do not even bring a lawyer. What good would a lawyer do against a fleet of warships? Elena asked. If you decide to destroy us, nothing I say will stop you. But if there is a chance for understanding, I would rather speak honestly than hide behind fancy words. The Elder studied her for a long moment. Very well. Let us speak honestly. Tell me, Captain Vasquez, what do your people want? Elena had expected this question. She had practiced her answer 100 times on the journey here. But when she opened her mouth, she found herself throwing away the prepared speech. Honesty, she had said. So honesty it would be. We want to explore, she said. We want to learn. We want to see what is out there. Beyond the next star. Beyond the next galaxy. Beyond the edge of everything we know. We have spent our entire existence trapped on one small world, fighting to survive, fighting each other, fighting our own nature. And now, finally, we have the power to reach out, to touch the stars. She leaned forward. We will not let anyone take that from us. Not even you. Kelzareth did not respond immediately. She seemed to be processing Elena's words, turning them over in her ancient mind. Your people are violent, she said finally. Your history is written in blood. Wars, genocides, atrocities beyond counting. How can we trust a species that treats destruction as casually as breathing? Elena nodded. You are right. We are violent. We have done terrible things to each other. Things that shame us, things that haunt us. She paused. But we are also capable of extraordinary good. Of love. Of sacrifice. Of mercy. Every human carries both possibilities within them. Every day, we choose who we want to be. And if you choose to be conquerors, if you turn your violence against the galaxy, then you would have every right to stop us, Elena said. But that is not who we are choosing to be. We did not come to the stars looking for enemies. We came looking for friends, looking for knowledge, looking for meaning. Kelzareth rose from her seat. She moved to a wall and touched it with one of her 6 arms. The surface transformed into a screen showing images Elena did not recognize. Let me show you something, the Elder said. This is from our classified archives. History that only the Council Elders know. The images showed a species Elena had never seen. They were tall and angular, with dark shells and burning red eyes. The Vekthari, Kelzareth said. 12 million years ago, when the Concord was young, we encountered them. They were like you, violent, aggressive, advancing at a rate that terrified us. We tried to contain them. We failed. They broke free and waged war against us for 1,000 years. The images showed terrible battles. Ships burning in the void, worlds consumed by fire. How did you stop them? Elena asked. We did not, Kelzareth said. They stopped themselves. Their violence was so extreme, their hatred so absolute, that they turned it inward. They destroyed each other. Civil war, after civil war until nothing remained but ashes. The screen went dark. The Council believes you will follow the same path, Kelzareth continued. They believe your violence will eventually consume you. Some want to speed that process along. Others want to wait and watch you destroy yourselves. Elena stood up. She walked to stand beside the ancient elder. The Vekthari destroyed themselves because they could not control their anger, she said. They let their violence consume everything, including themselves. She looked directly into Quel'Zareth's glowing eyes. But we are different. We have been fighting ourselves for 300,000 years, and we are still here. Every time we fall, we get back up. Every war teaches us something new. Every disaster makes us stronger. She reached out and touched the wall where the images had been displayed. We do not destroy ourselves. We survive ourselves. That is what your council does not understand. We are not the Vekthari. We have already survived what destroyed them. We have mastered the one thing they could not. And what is that? Quel'Zareth asked quietly. Elena turned to face her. We learned how to turn chaos into progress. How to take the worst parts of ourselves and channel them into something better. Our violence drives our technology. Our competition pushes our science. Our fear of death makes us reach for immortality among the stars. She smiled. We are not a threat because we are violent. We are extraordinary because we have learned to use our violence to build instead of destroy. Quel'Zareth was silent for a very long time. The ancient crystal being stood motionless, her colors shifting slowly through shades of blue and purple. Finally, she spoke. In 9 million years I have never met anyone like you. Your species terrifies me, Captain Vasquez. And yet, I find myself hoping you are right. She moved toward the door. The council will meet tomorrow. I will share what you have told me. But the decision is not mine alone to make. Elena nodded. I understand. Quel'Zareth paused at the doorway. One more question. If the council decides to destroy your people, what will you do? Elena's expression did not change. We will fight. Every human, every ship, every weapon we have. We will make it cost you more than you can imagine. And even if you win, you will never forget what it cost you to defeat us. The elder made that strange laughing sound again. Of course you will. You are human. She turned and left the room. Elena stood alone in the chamber. Tomorrow, the fate of her entire species would be decided by beings older than the mountains of Earth. She had done everything she could. She had spoken the truth. Now, all she could do was wait. She looked out the window at the alien sky and wondered if she would ever see Earth again. The Grand Assembly Hall of Ithoria Prime was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from every species in the Concord had gathered to witness the most important announcement in 12 million years. Quantum broadcasts carried the event to trillions of beings across the galaxy. Even the most distant colonies had tuned in to watch. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on a small platform reserved for guests. Around her, thousands of alien beings waited in silence. Some looked at her with fear, some with curiosity, some with hatred. She met their eyes without flinching. High Arbiter Quel'Zareth floated to the central platform. Her crystalline body shimmered with colors that reflected the gravity of the moment. The chamber fell absolutely silent. Citizens of the Concord, she began. We have gathered to discuss a matter of great importance, the future of a newly discovered species called humanity, and perhaps the future of our civilization as well. She gestured, and a holographic display appeared. It showed Earth, small and blue, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Many of you have heard the reports. Humanity is unlike anything we have encountered before. They are young, by our standards. Their civilization is only 300,000 years old. And yet, they have achieved what took us millions of years to accomplish. The display changed to show humanity's timeline, the impossible rate of advancement, the endless wars, the constant growth. Some have argued that humanity is a threat, that we must destroy them before they destroy us. Quel'Zareth paused. I understand this fear. It is natural. It is logical. When you see something that moves this fast, that grows this quickly, the instinct is to stop it before it becomes too powerful to control. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. But today, I want to share something else with you. Something that has been weighing on my mind since I spoke with the human representative. Another display appeared. This one showed charts and graphs that Elena did not recognize. They depicted the Concord itself, stretching back millions of years. This is our history, Quel'Zareth said. Not the history we teach in schools. Not the history we are proud of. This is the truth. The truth about what we have become. The charts showed a clear pattern. For the first few million years of the Concord, growth had been strong. New discoveries, new technologies, new art and philosophy. But then, slowly, the curves began to flatten. We stopped advancing, Kelsareth said. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily, over millions of years. We lost our drive, our curiosity, our willingness to take risks. We became comfortable. We became satisfied. We stopped reaching for something greater. Elena watched the faces of the assembly. Many looked confused. Some looked angry. But others were nodding slowly, as if recognizing a truth they had always known but never admitted. Our scientists have made projections, Kelsareth continued. Based on current trends, the Concord will continue to exist for another 100 million years, but we will not grow. We will not advance. We will simply maintain. And eventually, inevitably, we will decline, fade away, become nothing more than dust and memory. She let the words hang in the air. This is our future. Stagnation, decay, a slow death spread across epochs. We have grown so old, so peaceful, so careful, that we have forgotten how to live. The display changed again. Now it showed humanity, not the wars, not the destruction, but the other things, the art, the music, the science, the dreams. And then we found them, Kelsareth said. A species that refuses to stop climbing, that treats the impossible as merely difficult, that falls down 100 times and gets up 101. She turned to look directly at Elena. Captain Vasquez told me something that I have not been able to forget. She said that humanity does not destroy itself. They survive themselves. Every disaster makes them stronger. Every failure teaches them something new. They have mastered the art of turning chaos into progress. The elder floated higher, addressing the entire assembly. My friends, we have been asking the wrong question. We have been asking whether humanity is a threat to the conquered. But the real question is this: can humanity save us? The chamber erupted in noise. Voices shouting, beings arguing, chaos in every direction. Kelsareth raised all 6 of her arms, and slowly, the noise died down. I know this is difficult to hear. Our pride tells us that we need no saving, that we are the elders, the founders, the wise ones who have guided the galaxy for millions of years. She lowered her arms. But wisdom means nothing if it leads to extinction. Pride means nothing if it leaves us dying in the dark. She turned to face the Council of Elders. I call for a vote, not to destroy humanity, not to contain them, but to welcome them as full members of the Concord, not as students to be guided, but as equals, as partners, as leaders. The silence that followed was the deepest Elena had ever known. One by one, the elders cast their votes. Some hesitated, some argued, but in the end, the count was clear. 7 in favor, 5 against. The motion passed. Kelsareth turned to Elena. Captain Vasquez, on behalf of the Galactic Concord, I extend to humanity an invitation to join our civilization. We offer you full membership, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. What is your answer? Elena stepped forward. Every eye in the chamber was on her. Every being in the galaxy was watching. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I accept, she said. But I want to make something clear. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to replace you. We are here to grow together, to learn from you and teach you, to push each other towards something greater than either of us could achieve alone. She looked around the assembly. You have lived for millions of years. You have built wonders we cannot imagine. But somewhere along the way, you forgot something important. You forgot that the universe is not meant to be merely survived. It is meant to be explored, challenged, conquered. She smiled, not with weapons, but with curiosity, with courage, with the refusal to accept that anything is impossible. She raised her hand toward the stars. We are going to remind you what it feels like to reach for something beyond your grasp. And we are going to do it together. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then, somewhere in the back, a single being began to make a sound. A rhythmic tapping. Applause. Slowly, others joined in. The sound grew. It spread, until the entire chamber was filled with the thunder of thousands of species celebrating together. Elena stood in the center of it all, tears in her eyes. She thought of Earth, Of all the humans who had struggled and fought and died to bring them to this moment, of all the sacrifices that had led to this impossible victory, humanity had been alone for so long. Now, finally, they had a place among the stars. 500 years passed. The galaxy had changed beyond recognition. Human explorers had pushed past the Concorde's borders, venturing into regions of space that had never been mapped. They found new species, new worlds, new mysteries waiting to be solved. But more importantly, they had transformed the Concorde itself. Species that had stagnated for millions of years were innovating again. Scientists who had given up on discovery were making breakthroughs. Artists who had created nothing new in centuries were producing works of stunning beauty. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had awakened it. On Ithoria Prime, a monument stood in the Grand Assembly Hall. It was a simple thing. A statue of a woman in a uniform, her hand raised toward the stars. A plaque at its base read, Captain Elena Vasquez, first ambassador of humanity, the one who reminded us to dream. And far beyond the galaxy's edge, human ships continued outward, into the unknown, into the darkness, into the infinite possibility of the universe. They would never stop exploring, never stop growing, never stop reaching for something more. That was who they were. That was who they had always been. The Concorde had waited 12 million years for a species brave enough to inherit the stars. They just never expected that species to come from a small blue world that had almost killed itself 100 times over. Perhaps that was the point. Perhaps only a species that had learned to survive itself could teach the galaxy how to thrive. And now, thanks to humanity, the galaxy was thriving once again.